Hey y'all, today we are making 2 yummy breakfast casseroles. Okay, so the first casserole that we're going to be making is a croissant French toast casserole. So what you're going to need are 12 of these sort of medium-sized croissants, and I got these at Walmart, so if you're, trying to figure out what size they are, you can kind of see there. They're not the real tiny ones, but they're not the humongous ones either. So you're going to need to cube these up because we're making this into a casserole, of course. We want a lot of little bite-sized pieces to go in our casserole. Now, I wasn't real sure when I started how many of these I was going to need. So I got my 9x13 pan out, and as I cut them up, I just kind of dropped them over into my pan, and that way I knew when I had enough. And like I said, I ended up using all 12 of these, but you can certainly half this recipe or double it and put it in 2 pans or whatever you need to do to feed whoever you're feeding. This would be a perfect casserole to do like for Christmas morning. You can make this ahead of time and let it sit in the refrigerator overnight and then cook it the next day. So it would be perfect for that if that's what you were making it for. So as you can see, this is how much I ended up with in my 9x13 pan. So I had not greased my pan yet because I was going to take those back out. I just needed it to measure and make sure I had enough. So while that is sitting over to the side, after we finished our bread cutting, you're going to need to get a big bowl. Make sure that it's a good size bowl because we're going to need to put all this in there, and then we're going to need to add the bread back in. So to keep from having to swap and switch dishes and all that stuff, just get you a big bowl to start with, and that way it'll be big enough. You're going to crack 9 eggs into your bowl. Then you're going to add in 1 cup of milk and 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. Now, the original recipe called for 1 cup of whole milk and 2 cups of half and half. I don't use whole milk or half and half, so I didn't have that. But what I did have was 2% milk and heavy whipping cream, so that's what I ended up using. Use whatever you have. Okay, then you're going to add in 1/4 cup of plain white sugar and 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar. Okay. Now, this is not a super sweet casserole, so that's, we're not adding a lot of sugar into it. You're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and half a teaspoon of nutmeg. Now, if you don't have nutmeg or you don't like nutmeg, leave it out. It'll be fine. Just add a little extra cinnamon. But I like the nutmeg. It feels a little more Christmassy to me, because it's really the only time of year I cook with nutmeg. So it just kind of reminds me of the holidays, just the smell and the taste of it. So you're going to get that mixed up real good. Make sure you get all them little eggs hiding in the bottom. Once you get everything mixed up, go ahead and add all that bread that you cut up, add that right back into your bowl. And then we're going to need to fold this in. Don't stir it real hard. Like, be kind of gentle with it because you want your bread to stay in the cubes. And, crescent rolls, they will, they're real soft and buttery and flaky. And we don't want these to fall completely apart because we want to have them in bite-sized pieces in our casserole. So just gently fold those in. Make sure all of your bread is coated in that egg and milk mixture, so it can soak it all up when we bake it, okay? Then I added 1 cup of chopped pecans. Now, you can use walnuts, or if you don't like nuts or you can't have somebody who can't have nuts, then you can leave those out altogether if you don't want them in there. But I thought they added a little something extra, and they were pretty dang yummy. So I added them into mine. So you're going to mix that up real good, and then we're going to get a very well-greased pan. Now look, it's not dirty. It's the crumbs from earlier, so everybody calm down. So you're going to make sure it's greased real well, and then we're going to dump this right over into our 9x13 pan. Now, if you're making this ahead of time, this is where you're going to stop. You're going to spread it out in your pan, cover it with some foil, put it in the fridge until you're ready for it, okay? If you're making it the same day, which is what I did, just spread it out, pop it in the oven. We're going to cook this 350 degrees for about 45 minutes, and that's it. It's pretty dang simple, y'all. Pretty dang simple. and it is so good. Now, it's going to be kind of wonky and puffed up in some spots and not in others when you first pull it out, but as it cools down, it'll kind of see down into the pan, and it'll even itself back out. But y'all, this thing is so good. If you like French toast, you have to make this one, okay? So the next one that we're going to make is a roasted potato breakfast casserole. Now, what you're going to need is some bacon and some potatoes. So I'm going to do mine in the oven. Now, you can do yours on the stovetop. You can cook your bacon on the stovetop, on a griddle, in the air fryer, however you want to do it. I'm just telling you how I'm doing mine, but do yours how you want. You're going to need a pack of bacon or as many pieces of bacon. I think I use 9 pieces is what I fit on here, but you can use as much bacon as you want. If you don't like bacon, use sausage. You can use ham, Canadian bacon, use whatever you want. Or if you don't like meat, don't put any meat in it. But, I mean, the bacon, come on now. Anyway, the way that I'm doing mine, I'm using some canned potatoes. You can use real potatoes. You can use the frozen hash brown potatoes. You just got to cook the potatoes, okay? So if you're using canned like I did, I used 4 cans, and I drained them, and then I rinsed them real good to get all that extra starchy stuff off. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper and a little bit of oil. Now, don't add too much salt to these. I know it's a lot of potatoes, and you feel like you want to add a ton of salt, but don't, because you're going to add all this bacon and cheese in there, and it's pretty salty too. So you don't want this to end up being so salty that people can't eat it. Now, on that sheet that I have that I lined with foil, I actually made 2 different sections. Look, that was an ugly piece of potato I had to take out. But I put it in 2 different sections. Now, that section is not big enough to cook the potatoes, but the potatoes have to cook a lot longer, so I wanted to go ahead and let them get started too. So I sprayed that little section real good with some cooking spray, and then I poured all those potatoes in there. And like I said, they needed to be spread out more, and I will spread them out in a minute. But for now, I'm just going to let them get started with the bacon. Now, the way I do my bacon in the oven is I put it on some foil, and then I put it in my oven cold. And then as soon as I put it in the oven, I turn the oven to 400, and I set a timer for 20 minutes, okay? Let the bacon cook as it preheats and stuff, and then your bacon is cooked perfectly. I'm telling you, trust me on that one. You'll see it in a minute. It just cooks it so perfect, okay? So pop that in 20 minutes for your bacon, okay? It's going to take longer for the potatoes. I think it ended up taking my potatoes closer to like 45 minutes or something, but you just want to cook them until your potatoes are as done as you want them. So now we're going to add in 1 small onion. Dice it up pretty small because we're going to put this in raw, and we don't want to have huge pieces of onion that don't cook while they're, in the oven. You know what I'm saying? So cut them up pretty small. Or you can cook these ahead, like saute them. If you're cooking your bacon on the stove, you can, saute your onion in there with your bacon, however you want to do it. But you can put it in raw just like I'm doing. Just dice it up pretty small, okay? Add that into your bowl. Okay, now once my bacon was cooked, and you'll see the bacon in a minute, I took it off the pan, removed most of the bacon grease, and then spread my potatoes out, and then just let them finish cooking in the oven until they were where I needed them to be, okay? Like I said, I think I left them in there a total of about 40, maybe 45 minutes. I don't know, however long it took. So you're just going to add your potatoes right in there with your onion, and then stir it up. And my potatoes are hot, so I stir a pretty good bit, kind of each time I add an ingredient, just to kind of try to cool those potatoes down before it's time to put the eggs in. Look how perfect that bacon is, y'all. Perfectly crispy bacon. Now, if you don't like your bacon that crispy, you can certainly take it out, earlier if you want to. And keep in mind that all ovens cook different, so 20 minutes may not get your bacon there. You may have to leave it in for another minute or 2. Just kind of watch it. But that's a good goal to shoot for anyway. So then, once you're ready for your bacon or whatever, you're going to just crumble it up right into the bowl of the potatoes and onions. Give that a little stir. Look, I could have ate this right here by itself. Just potatoes and bacon and onions. Just put it right on in there and just ate it by the spoonful. Because I'm telling you, my kitchen was smelling so good at this point. I'm just telling you. So anyway, I've cut the oven down to 350, okay, because we had it on 400 to cook the bacon and the potatoes. I've got it cut down to 350 now because that's what we're going to need when we actually get ready to bake the casserole. Now, if you're making this ahead of time, this is where you would stop. You wouldn't do the eggs yet. Just kind of prep your onion, eggs, your onion, tomato, onions, bacon, and potatoes, and then just have those ready and throw it together the next day. Okay, so what you're going to need to add now, that's 8 eggs in my cup, and I'm going to add 1 cup of heavy whipping cream to my bowl, okay? Just add 1 cup in there, and I added the heavy whipping cream before the eggs, again, just to, give those potatoes just a little bit more chance to cool down a tiny bit so we wouldn't end up with scrambled eggs, okay? So, cup of heavy whipping cream and 8 eggs, okay? Then you're going to mix that up real good. Just make sure that everything is good and incorporated. Everything's all mixed together. You don't want to end up with, a huge hunk of egg over here and no egg over, you know what I'm saying. Just mix it up real good, y'all. So then we're going to add the good stuff, right? We got to add the good stuff. We're going to add a little seasoning, and then we got to add cheese. Y'all knew it was coming. So I added just a little bit of garlic powder and a little bit of onion powder and a little bit of salt and pepper. And again, go easy on the salt because you don't want this to be overly salty with all the bacon and cheese and stuff. And since we had seasoned those potatoes up a little bit too, you just don't want to end up with a whole lot of salt in there. So garlic, onion, salt, and pepper, or if you like a different kind of flavor in your eggs, a lot of times I would use like the Auntie No-Nos or whatever, whatever seasonings you like, you can add in there. So then we're going to add in some cheese. Now, I had to run down to the Dollar General and get mine because it didn't have any. But I got the Colby Jack, my son went down there and got the Colby Jack. And you're just going to add 2 cups, just that whole little bag in there, just 2 cups of cheese. And, you can add more if you want to, but 2 cups that's pretty good. But you don't have to use Colby Jack. You can use regular cheddar. If you want a little kick to yours, add pepper jack. Whatever kind of cheese you use, you're going to need 2 cups. If you want to add a cup of cheddar and a cup of pepper jack, do whatever your little heart desires, your little cheesy heart. Just do whatever you need to do. All right, so then you're going to grease a 9x13 pan real good. And then we're just going to dump that mixture right over into that pan. And y'all, both of these casseroles were so easy to throw together. Just super, super simple and so good. Smooth it out. You're going to pop that in the oven, 350 degrees for about 25 minutes. After 25 minutes, pull it out, and then we're going to add the finishing touch, more cheese. I added probably another cup or cup and a half-ish of cheese. I didn't use the whole bag. And but add however much you want. If you just want a tiny bit of cheese, add that. If you want a whole heck of a lot of cheese, you dump the whole darn bag on there if you want to. We're going to pop that back into the oven for about 10 minutes. Just let that cheese get nice and bubbly and kind of golden brown around the edges. Y'all, when I tell you this darn casserole right here, oh my gosh, so dang good. If you like potatoes, bacon, cheese, and who don't, you're going to like this. So that's what she looks like from the side. The eggs just kind of hold everything together a little bit, but it's not an overly eggy casserole. You can taste the egg or whatever, but it's not super eggy like a quiche would be. You know what I'm saying? Super good. But that's what it looks like. She ain't going to win no beauty prizes, but she tastes real good, y'all. And there is our French toast casserole. That's what it looks like when you cut into it. And if you like stuff a little bit sweeter, this is not overly sweet. So if you want it a little bit sweeter, you can mix up a little bit of powdered sugar and milk and make a little glaze, or you can add plain powdered sugar, or you can put a little syrup over the top. But that is all I have for y'all today, and I will catch y'all on the next one. Bye, y'all.